We're continuing on the theme of personalities from Ramayana. And so far, we spoke on two classes on his younger brother, Lakshmana, and who Lakshmana is and who he represents in the spiritual realm. And are you a neighbor or family friend, or are you a little familiar with Ramayana? You know what I'm talking about? Nothing. Nothing at all.
I work with Preeti.
Huh?
I work with Preeti. She invited me, so.
Okay. Let me share something with you. Last weekend, I was at a housewarming, and much to my surprise, half the people, they're senior citizens, American couples, lined up here, and it was a similar topic, and they didn't know anything about anything. And but they knew the family was the host. So we got, in the course of that evening, back and forth and back and forth. They were fine because they weren't so worried about the names. This one, that one, the other one, the other one. They were interested in the teaching, the spirit of the teaching, because the topic was Lord Ramachandra as the upholder of perfect virtue. And the whole of Ramayana, we're speaking about Ramayana, this is some part of it, one of the personalities in that big epic of upholding of and establishing by example and precept ideal character. So that part they got. The names go similarly. In one of the very important persons, in just don't do that. There's neither here. You'll sit there very happily. Children. One of the important personalities in Ramayana is Hanuman, who is also virtuous, and he has human-like characteristics, but he has the body of a monkey, a talking monkey. Not only a talking monkey, highly educated. We'll hear this evening. We'll hear a little bit about that. And how he becomes a participant in this epic Ramayana is goes way back. We'll see some paintings of this. But the universe had a universal terrorist. Universal terrorist. His name was Ravana. Ravana means a terrible bore. That's the meaning of his name. And he had undergone great austerities, and through those austerities, he became powerful. And he requested one of the demigods came, offered him what benediction would you like? And I want this, I want that, I want the other thing, I want power. I want to control the universe. I want to be so powerful no one can kill me. So, sorry, Charlie, you can't give a promise like that. So he then asked for benedictions and said, I can't be killed by this one, that one, the other one, the other one. So the demigods, the celestial beings, the residents of heaven that look after the affairs of the universe, they were harassed by this terrorist. So they went to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu offered prayers. Help was essentially, this and that, standard prayers that come from the Vedas, the Rig Veda particularly, and they offer the Vedic hymns. And there was a response that says, yes, I'll relieve you of this burden. And please, O celestial beings, make arrangements so that offspring, you can help produce offspring that can assist me on earth. I'll come, I'll deal with this fellow. But I want your help. He doesn't need anyone's help, but to give them some service. So the demigods made such an arrangement, but it was so that it wouldn't contradict the benedictions that he got. So they, the celestial beings, the demigods, they produce offspring in different species. One of the vast species that was not on Ravana's checklist of persons that can't harm him was monkeys. It was kind of what monkeys can harm a powerful guy. So the wind god, there's a presiding deity in charge of the wind. He produced a son whose name was Hanuman. So that's his background. And he, Hanuman, is one of the eternal associates of the personality of Godhead. The picture, the Vedic picture of the structure of the universe, cosmology, there's a narration of all of this. There's, similar to the biblical understanding, there's heaven and there's hell. There's 7 upper, 7 lower planetary systems. The lower planetary systems have at their very, very bottom the hellish planets. And then the Earth planet is somewhere in the middle. And then there's planets above us and above heaven, and then the coverings of the universe. And then beyond the coverings of the universe, there's the spiritual sky, where Lord Vishnu resides. That's where the demigods were went to get help. So when they had their capacity, they went and asked for help. So in the spiritual sky, there's a place, one of the spiritual planets is called Ayodhya. Don't worry about the names. Ayodhya is one of the uppermost realms in the spiritual sky. It's a spiritual planet, spiritual realm. And Ramachandra resides there eternally. And so does Hanuman. Eternally. So he's making an appearance, Hanuman and Ramachandra, from the spiritual sky. They're eternally in the spiritual sky, but they appear for a purpose of pastime, showing ideal character in this world. That's Ramayana. Dealing with the bad guys, but showing what is ideal character. That's the theme that runs throughout the whole of this text. And the person who's upholding character, that's Vishnu, that's the name of the Supreme. So he's the protagonist, and the antagonist is Ravana. And Hanuman becomes a loving assistant. Eternally he's in that function. But Lord Ramachandra is the avatar of Vishnu that comes to help the living entities deal with this terrible guy, the antagonist, Ravana. But good plots have good and evil struggle, and good some the good wins, although there's difficulty in the course of winning. The good wins. So that's how Ramayana ends also. Virtue is victorious over vice. That's the theme. Hanuman is in the category of the assistant of Lord Ramachandra. And there's details and details, but the painting that's on the screen is Ramachandra. The misfortune came to him. Misfortune. It was a display of loving pastimes. But he, the eldest, because in Vedic culture, the eldest son becomes the next king. The eldest son of the king becomes the next king. That's an entitlement. And everyone understands that, except Rama didn't like that idea. He wanted to be ruler over rulers. He didn't want to have anybody above him, including Vishnu. So Ramachandra, the circumstance was he was banished for 14 years, when at the very day he was to become the prince regent, the next king, the incumbent king. A big festival. Circumstance. And he was banished from the kingdom for 14 years and go to the forest. No royal life, risky life in the forest. And so at the end of 14 years, he came back. He had defeated Ravana, and there's details and details. And everyone in Ayodhya, the capital city, they were very happy to see him, more than happy. There's a transcendental love, which goes beyond the temporal kind of love that citizens may have for a virtuous leader, an ideal king. He's the personality of Godhead. And so he became the king. And the painting here is depicting during that period of time when he is being honored as the new king, the incumbent king. He, as part of the culture, he would give gifts to people who he wanted to give gifts because he's the emperor. He has wealth. So in this painting, there's next to his side is Sita. That's his consort. I don't know how far back to go with you. Do you know Bhagavad Gita?
You just go over.
Okay. The concept, there's an understanding within the Vedic scriptures that the source of everything has energies. The source of everything has many, many, many energies, spiritual and material energies. And those energies, they're energies, but they're behind the energy, there's the energetic, there's the personality. So on his left side and our right side of the painting, there's Sita. That's his spiritual energy personified, his queen. And there's Ramachandra, the king, the newly anointed king. And then surrounding him are his three other brothers. And then by his feet, there's Hanuman. And Hanuman is looking at a necklace. Because one of the gifts was Sita was wearing a very precious, most valuable necklace. We'll hear some description shortly when we stop narrating, and we'll read some text. So Sita had a most valuable necklace, pearls and diamonds and precious stones strung on a thread, a golden thread. So it was time for Sita to give a gift. So there are different versions of Ramayana, and we'll hear two of them just shortly. And Sita was taking off her necklace to give as a gift. Ramachandra didn't say, he spoke with his eyes. Give it to that person who, lists the virtues of Hanuman. But he didn't say her name. He didn't say Hanuman's name. So she just looked at Hanuman. The one who found me, the one who crossed the sea, the one who protected me, the one who this, the one who that. I want to give this necklace to Hanuman. She didn't say, just that's what she did. There's Hanuman looking at this necklace. So we're going to hear two different Ramayana versions. Here's the text. This is from Uttarakhanda. This is a section of Valmiki Ramayana. Ram had presented to Sita an excellent string of pearls, furnished with superior gems, shining like a beam of moonlight. These two clean, beautiful, and lovely ornaments combined into one, pearls with other gems. Looking towards Hanuman, Sita, daughter of Janaka, having taken off the pearl string from her neck, repeatedly caught a glimpse of all the monkeys. Looking at her, Ram, who was well acquainted with the gesture of another, spoke to Sita as follows. Dear Sita, give the pearl necklace to a person with whom you are pleased, and in whom the following are always present: sharpness, firmness, renown, dexterity, competence, modesty, prudence, virility, prowess, and intelligence. A good list, huh? The black-eyed Sita gave the pearl necklace to Hanuman. Hanuman, the foremost of the monkeys, by wearing that necklace, which was as white as a heap of moonlight beams, shone brilliantly as a mountain by a white cloud. There's lots of poetry using metaphor and simile and this and that to depict something that's quite extraordinary by using something that we know a little bit about. A mountain silvered by a white cloud. So that's what he looked like, wearing her necklace. There's another version of Ramayana, less known, but it's very nice. And I'm going to narrate this particular version. Like this. Don't sit right in front of her because she's you're going to be able to see the screen. You're good. Oh. So, Krittivasa Ramayana. Many of you are looking around the room that you've been around a while. There's a celebrated painting or sometimes artwork about some kind or another where it shows Hanuman opens up his chest and you see inside Sita and Ram. Everyone's seen that. She hasn't seen it, but the rest of you have seen it. I know. Okay, good. Okay. So this story from Krittivasa Ramayana gives the background that it has to do with this necklace. Sita took off her hara, that's her necklace. No one could value it in the universe. The very sight of the hara kept all the people amazed. It had many gems, pearls, and precious stones. All the chief warriors looked at each other, contemplating as to who would get that hara at the gift-giving time. To whom this hara should be presented? Thinking in her mind, Sita looked toward Ram and understood that he desired it to be given to anyone who she liked. When everything was in the dark and no trace of Sita was available, who searched for her? When all of us were dead, who brought us all back to life? There's a scene in Ramayana during a battle scene where Ramachandra killed Ravana in battle, Hanuman brought this news to Mother Sita in the Ashok garden. This brought Sita back to life. There are different versions of Ramayana, and one of those, it's in Valmiki Ramayana, but it's in other Ramayanas. When Ravana, the villain, was destroyed by an arrow of Ramachandra, Hanuman was requested by Ramachandra, please find Sita and inform her, Ravana is finished. But he is the messenger. He's an order carrier, he's a minister, he's a wise assistant of Ramachandra. So he went and informed her. Sita she knew the battle was going on, but she didn't know the outcome. And Ravana is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. And he's defeated. So Hanuman brought that news. And when he brought that news, she was as if dead. There's details and details of what she had been through, torment and torture and life threats and so many things. Considering all these facts, as hara should be given to such a person by which no one would feel small. And, courtesy of people shouldn't have that kind of feeling. Janaki, that's another name for Sita, then repeatedly looked toward Hanuman, who rushed towards Janaki and wore the hara around his neck. Hanuman then bowed at the feet of Janaki. Then she blessed him thus, you will enjoy eternal life and remain free from pain and grief. This is the energy, the Shakti, the potency of the Supreme Lord giving this benediction to Hanuman. The glory of Ram will last till the sun and moon illumine the universe, and you will remain eternal. O Hanuman, I give this boon to you. Wherever there be the recitation of the name of Ram, you would be present at that place, irrespective of the distance till that time. The recitation continued. The grammar is a little awkward, but you get the idea. And so what happened was he started chewing on the necklace. He looked at the necklace and started chewing on the necklace. And Lakshman said, Hanuman, what are you doing? And he said, well, I thought this was supposed to be such a valuable necklace, but I, didn't have Ram's name on it. Mm-hmm. So it's useless. I'm just going to chew on it. Mm-hmm. And everyone laughed. And then Lakshman said, but Hanuman, your body doesn't have the name of Ram all over it, but you're maintaining your body. Mm-hmm. So then he did this Pritivasa Ramayana. He showed within his heart, Pritivasa Ramayana said, he showed that on every bone in his body, Ram's name is inscribed. No, in Sanskrit, of course. Mm-hmm. But that's Hanuman. That's the narration from Pritivasa Ramayana. Now, many of you have been to India, many of you are from India, and when you go to India, when you see temples of Hanuman, sometimes, in many cases, you find Hanuman in this reddish look. Mm-hmm. What's behind that? And there's a nice answer. The nice answer is, one time, the stories begin with once upon a time. Once upon a time. Hanuman was curious. He said, he asked Ramachandra, what's that red dot in the middle of the forehead of Sita? And he said, oh, that's kumkum. And then he asked, why? And then the answer was given, because she likes it. So immediately Hanuman scurried around and got a big pile of kumkum and smeared the kumkum all over his body. So his body became looking like this. And so to commemorate that pastime, out of his dedication and love for Sita because she likes it, he smeared his body head to foot with kumkum. Now, those of you who have been around a while, you know that Ramachandra appeared in the dynasty of the Sun Dynasty, which Sun Dynasty means who's the head of the Sun Dynasty? The Sun God, right? And who's the son of the Sun God? One of the sons of the Sun God is Vivaswan. Vivaswan, the Sun God, has Vivasvata Manu as his son. So, Sun God and Vivasvata Manu, and Vivasvata Manu's son was Ikshvaku, right in Bhagavad Gita. Right? You don't know? It's in chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is describing, long, long ago, I taught this imperishable science to the sun god, Vivaswan. Vivaswan instructed it to his son, Ikshvaku. Chapter 4 Bhagavad Gita. Next time you read Bhagavad Gita. So Ikshvaku was sent by his father, Manu, to this earthly plane because the cosmology, the pictures, there's a celestial realm and then there's the earthly realm. So the sun god is in the celestial realm and he sent his son to the earthly realm, to Ayodhya. Vivasvata Manu designed and built the capital for his son, Ikshvaku, to descend and bring divine teachings or celestial teachings or teachings of God to people of this earthly realm. So the Sun dynasty of kings started with Ikshvaku. And when he came, he was sent by his father with deities of Sita and Ram, called Mula Sitaram. Mula means root. So those were worshipped by Ikshvaku in the earthly realm, although Ramachandra hadn't appeared yet. He was worshipping them, Ikshvaku, in Ayodhya. And after some time, the deities were given to a Brahmana in Ayodhya. And over generations, those Brahmanas in Ayodhya worshipped the deity, and eventually they gave the deity, over many generations, they gave the deity to Hanuman. And so Hanuman worshipped the deity of Mula Sitaram for some time. And this is found referenced in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Later, with details you'll find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can read the text. Hanuman gave the deity to Bhima. Later, Bhima gave the deity to a king in Orissa, Kshemakanta. And this is, much later, 4 yuga cycles later, they're now being worshipped in Orissa. And in course of time, the deity Mula Sitaram deities were worshipped by the succession of kings in Orissa. And one of those kings was Narahari Tirtha. And Narahari Tirtha had become a disciple of Madhvacharya. And so he decided to give the deity that was being worshipped in generations and generations to Madhvacharya. Right in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there's the deity of Sitaram, Mula Sitaram. Just 3 months before his disappearance, Madhvacharya received these deities and installed them in the Udupi temple. Now, just to help you, Udupi is a place in South India. It's on the western side and is the headquarters. It became the headquarters of one of the greatest acharyas in the world at that time and still today. A very, very, very important personality named Madhvacharya. And he was a worshipper of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, And he very much desired to have these deities. The deities were given to him as a gift. And then they are installed today in this temple in Udupi. So those of you that may visit Udupi, we visited Udupi. There's deity. Sita is quite small compared to Ramachandra, but that's the deity that was given to Madhvacharya. And there's another deity of Ramachandra worshipped by followers of Madhvacharya in another location. And there's the deity pictured on the left side. And the main deity, Udupi Krishna deity, this is how he appears on Ramachandra's appearance day, Ram Navami. So the deity in the right side, our right side, that's a Krishna deity. But on the appearance day of Ramachandra, this is how he is attired and dressed. Notice there's Hanuman kneeling before him, and there's Sita by his side, and Lakshman by the other side. Lakshman is the personality we spoke about yesterday. 2 discussions about Lakshmana. Here's a little reference given in Adi Varaha Purana. There's a picture on the right is the Varaha Purana. During the advent of Sri Ramachandra, monkeys and bears brought large rocks and stones from many places to construct a bridge across the ocean. The detail was this, mainly for you. Ravana had his headquarters in Lanka, or Sri Lanka, which is Ceylon. So it's an island off the southern tip of India. So when Ramachandra was searching for Sita because she had been kidnapped by Ravana, the Vanaras, the monkey warriors, were searching and searching and searching, and they had to build a bridge once they found out where she was. They built a bridge across the ocean in a very interesting way by having rocks float. Rocks don't float, but they had powers, mystic powers, because they're sons of demigods that had mystic powers, and they made rocks float and built a bridge. So the monkeys and bears were bringing large rocks and stones from many places to construct a bridge across the ocean. Hanuman also received the order from Sri Ramachandra to help build the bridge. Hanuman uprooted Govardhan. Did you know that Hanuman lifted Govardhan hill? Adivara Purana says he did. And he went all the way, because the southern tip of India is very far away from where Govardhan Hill is, Vrindavan. He went all the way there. But while carrying him to the ocean, he heard a divine sound that announced, the bridge, the ocean bridge is now complete, no more rocks are required. So Hanuman was a little disappointed what to speak of Govardhan. Hearing this, Hanuman became sad and put down Sri Giriraj, where he stands today. Giriraj also became unhappy and said to Hanuman, "You have deprived me of the touch of Sri Ram's lotus feet. I will curse you." From Adivara Purana. "Please forgive me," Hanuman replied. In a future Dwapara Yuga, your desire will be fulfilled. At that time, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna will stop the worship of Indra and worship you instead. Angered, Indra will try to destroy Braja by unleashing his thunderbolt and sending torrents of rain. At this time, Krishna will hold you on his hand to protect Braja. In this way, he will fulfill your desire. It's pride. A little different than what we're accustomed to hearing. Upon saying this, Hanuman leaped into the air and arrived at Sri Ramachandra's side. After Hanuman's narrating the whole incident to Sri Ramachandra, he, Ramachandra, replied, "All the rocks have been assembled to build the bridge, have been delivered by the touch of my feet. But I shall fulfill the desire of Govardhan by holding him on my hand and touching him with my whole body. At the close of Dwarka Yuga, I shall take birth in the dynasty of the Yadus and make Govardhan famous as the best servant of Hari by herding the cows with my sakhas, means his friends, on his slopes, and by enjoying with my beloved gopis in his kunjas." Now this is a Purana. This is not Bhagavad Purana. This is a different one, Adivara Purana, indicating the same pastime that hadn't happened yet before it happened. Interesting. Then here's another version of Ramayana called Ananda Ramayana. And in this Ananda Ramayana, there are some details. I won't go into too much of the details, but Hanuman made a pledge that he would become personally situated on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. You know Arjuna, right? She doesn't. She's very new, but she's very patient too. In Krishna's pastimes, so Bhagavad Gita is like the Bible, from the Vedas. It's like a very sensual, simple text compared to all the rest of the elaborate Vedas, Bhagavad Gita. Holy book, Bhagavad Gita. And it's a dialogue between Krishna and his dear friend Arjuna. And on the flag of Arjuna's chariot, there's the sign, the emblem of Hanuman. So in Ananda Ramayana, it mentions it, that Hanuman makes this pledge that I'll be on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. And one of the commentators, one of the Sri Vaishnava commentators says, or writes, that when Krishna was speaking Bhagavad Gita, he was speaking to Arjuna, but he was also, speaking to Hanuman. And because Hanuman was ready for battle, he was serving the personality of Godhead in this battle situation. So, in this way, Krishna also met Hanuman. Because during the battle, it means this Ananda Ramayana says Hanuman jumped off the flag, was participating in the battle. Now, who is this a painting of? Garuda. We find, now there's another text, Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Don't worry about the names. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is a commentary on Bhagavad Gita is considered like undergraduate study, like 101. And then 201, the graduate study. The graduate study text is Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna, Bhagavatam is spoken about Krishna and his various expansions and there's appearances in this world, and including Ramachandra's appearance in this world within this bigger book, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. One of those commentaries is Brihat, which means great, Bhagavatamrita, the nectar, the amrita of the narrations of the pastimes of Bhagavan. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, there's mention of Garuda. And Krishna, because Garuda is the carrier of Krishna. in different pastimes. Krishna wants to go from point A to point B, and Garuda's there, and he carries him zoom very fast. So very dear associate of Krishna, but Garuda was a little proud. Krishna detected a little pride. Once Lord Krishna in Dwarka wanted to break the pride of Garuda and others by showing the steadfast exclusiveness of Vaishnava devotion. So he's also a Vaishnava, Garuda, but he wanted him to see just how steadfast is Hanuman. So he requested, Hanuman, please, Garuda, please come here. Bring Hanuman from Kim Purusha Loka. I'm looking around the room. And where's Kim Purusha Loka? No idea. But you read the Bhagavatam, you must know. So, Vedic cosmology. We're covering a lot of territory, right? It's okay. In this Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a whole canto, a whole division that's describing the structure of the universe, cosmology. And in that, because I did it quickly, there's 7 lower planetary systems, 7 upper planetary systems. Heaven is in that upper planetary system, and then beyond and beyond, and then the coverings of the universe, etc. So, the realm where we are, according to the Bhagavatam or Vedic cosmology, is above the lower 7, the first above the lower 7, Bhu Mandala, Bhuvar and Svargaloka. Bhu Mandala, Bhuvar Loka, Svargaloka. That's 3 of the upper 7. So in the Bhu Mandala realm, there's a series of islands, and then oceans in between those islands, and then circles of islands, and then further oceans, and so on and so forth. There's an interesting depiction. And the central one is where we are. And the central one is called Jambu Dvipa. Dvipa means? Island. So it's the central island, Jambu Dvipa. And Jambu Dvipa has this interesting structure in the very center. It's a golden mountain that's upside down, cone. Cones, generally they're broad at the base and they can become narrower and narrower and narrower. This is a different shape. This is broad at the top and narrower and narrower and narrower towards the bottom. We don't find mountains made of gold that look like that. That's Mount Sumeru. And then surrounding Mount Sumeru, there's a series of mountains and valleys in between those mountains. The mountain ranges, each with names, and then valley in between the mountain ranges, and then another mountain range. So Kim Purusha Loka, that's what's on the screen here, that's one of those little valleys in between the mountain ranges. And that's where Hanuman is today. That's why that's, if you don't know the Bhagavatam, it's like, what's he talking about? That's what it's talking about. One of the realms of this earthly plane, Kim Purusha Loka. Hanuman is there singing the glories of Ramachandra. He has some associates. They like kirtan too. And but it's mainly Ram Kirtan. It's also very nice. And so Krishna, in Dwarka, sent Garuda, go to Kim Purusha Loka and let Hanuman know I would like to see him. Personal invitation. So Garuda went. When he approached Hanuman, he told him, the personality of Godhead, the king of the Yadavas, is calling you, my dear Hanuman. Go to him at once. But Hanuman, exclusively devoted to Sri Raghunath, Ramachandra, ignored Garuda's request. Angered, Garuda tried to take Hanuman to Krishna by force, but Hanuman, with the tip of his tail, pushed him effortlessly away. Because he's exclusively devoted to Ram. So Guru went back. He fell to the sky and landed in Dwarka, where Krishna, amused to see him, said, "Dear Garuda, go back to Hanuman and tell him that Sri Raghunath is calling him." After dispatching Garuda again, Krishna turned himself into Lord Ramachandra and made Balaram become Lakshmana. When Queen Satyabhama seemed unable to turn into Sita Devi, Krishna, laughing, had Rukmini become Sita instead and placed her at his left side. Then the three of them stood waiting for Hanuman in Dwarka. So the three of them, Sitaram, Lakshman, and Hanuman. And so Sita, Ram, and Lakshman. But it's Krishna and Rukmini and Balaram, but looking in a different form, because that their tattva is the same, their features can be different. And he manifested these different features. When Garuda met Hanuman and told him of the Lord's request, Hanuman, filled with ecstasy, responded by running to meet his Lord. He took darshan of the disguised Krishna, Balaram, and Rukmini and offered prayers and devotion. Very much satisfied with Hanuman, the Lord bestowed on him whatever benedictions Hanuman chose, which is pure devotion to Ramachandra. That's what he wants. I don't want anything. And Garuda got a lesson. So you see the reference, there's Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the verse numbers, where this is being narrated as a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. So Hanuman has mystic powers. He can assume huge form, he can assume a tiny form, he can assume a human-like form, he can assume different. He has powers, besides shape-changing powers. He has powers, and those powers were invested in him in the following way. So here's some paintings we heard already about these paintings. This is demigods, clusters of demigods. You can tell who they are by the paintings. They went to the place where Lord Vishnu resides and asked for help. Ravana, terrorist, help. So he agreed. Lord Brahma instructed the demigods because he was able to hear the response within his heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye. So he was able to hear the response. It wasn't audible by the others. There's a different painting depicting the same. There's Brahma in the center, and he's hearing the response from Lord Vishnu, who's in the background, saying, yes, I will appear, and I would like these various demigods to assist me, and they can produce praja, or offspring, in species that can deal with Ravana appropriately, that is the Vanara species. And so the wind god, here he's depicted as riding on the back of a reindeer. All these demigods, they have their carriers. So he appeared as the father of Hanuman. Now, it's a pastime because, as we mentioned, Hanuman is an eternal associate of Lord Vishnu in the spiritual realm, in Ayodhya in the spiritual realm. And the mother, previously in a previous life, was an apsara named Punjika Sthala. And so the apsaras, they're girls, they're females that are very expert in dance. And they're there to assist or take part in the pastime of the demigods, of the celestial beings. In this painting, you'll see this Vaishnava with two fingers in the air. Everybody in the room except one of us knows what that means. Madhvacharya. Remember the name? Madhvacharya? Another name. The great Acharya. Great. There's 3 greats. And he lived in Udupi. Remember the deity, Ramayana deity? He was gifted those deities and then they were installed in Udupi. That's where he was headquartered. So, a very important person in the history. It's like, when I was in Connecticut, before coming here, I was in Connecticut. And there was one young boy in Connecticut. He was kind of precocious young fellow. He had a particular fascination for Greek philosophy and Greek mythology. And he knew a lot, this little boy. And so, as in Greek philosophy, you say, Theseus or, Plato or Aristotle or Socrates, and he knows who those people are. He knows their history, he knows their teachings, he knows a lot. So Madhvacharya is like that. In America, it's George Washington. Or Abraham Lincoln, or some personality that everybody knows. So Madhvacharya is one of those. Everybody knows. He holds 2 fingers in the air because that was his teaching. The living entity and God are different. And there's other such teachings. So this is one of his writings. He draws from Kamba Ramayana the following message. Hanuman's mother Anjana tells of her story, how she was previously maid servant of Brihaspati, called Punjikasthala. So Brihaspati. Brihaspati is a Brahmana, and the Brahmana had a maid servant. Once, in the forest picking flowers, she saw some other women engage in amorous activities with their mates. Being disturbed by this, which invoked lusty feelings in her mind, she returned to Brihaspati, the Brahmana, exalted personality, and threw herself at him, covering him with amorous kisses. Brihaspati, the chief priest of the demigods, was so furious that immediately cursed his maidservant to become a monkey. But then, out of concern, he also added that after some time, the son of the wind god Vayu would come to her as her child and release her from this curse. At that time, she would return to him as his maidservant. Punjikasthala. So that's the source of that is Kamba Ramayana, and that's who his mother was. So there she is, an Apsara. Punjikasthala, maidservant of Brihaspati. So now she is cursed, she has become a Vanara. The curse of a rishi brought her to the earth as a daughter, Kunjara, monkey chief. So she was the daughter of a chieftain amongst the monkeys. She retained her power to take any form at will. So between she and her husband, they had a son. Keshari, one of the noblest of monkey chiefs, had a dear wife by the name Anjana, daughter of monkey chief Kunjara. So Hanuman was born. And when he was born, she, as a mother, she loved him very much. And he was very playful, as children will be. And he had powers, even as a little boy, because he's the son of the wind god. And so one of his names, because his mother is Anjana, he became known as Anjana Sutta, the son of Anjana. And, playful little boy. He did playful little boy things, and your mother was very happy to be with this little boy. And one day, we all know this, most of us know the story. One day, he was a little boy, he was hungry, and he saw a fruit in the sky. There wasn't a fruit in the sky, it was the sun. But he had powers, and so with his powers, he flew in the direction of the sun to try to capture the sun. He wanted to eat. He was hungry, little boy. Little boys get hungry. There he is with his club. So he's chasing after the sun. And as he was going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, the other residents of the heavenly realm became worried. So Indra, mistakenly, foolishly, sent a thunderbolt weapon and hit Hanuman in the jaw. And so his upward motion stopped. And then he fell to the ground. This is different depictions of his chasing that fruit. But then when the thunderbolt weapon hit his jaw, he tumbled down to earth. And when he tumbled down to earth, he fell on the top of a mountain. When he fell on the top of the mountain, he was in difficulty. And so his father, the father of the demigod, the wind god, demigod, it shows Indra attacking Hanuman with his thunderbolt weapon. There he hits him with his thunderbolt weapon. That's a depiction of the artwork here. And when he fell to the earth, Vayu followed him on a deer, fearful his son would be burned by the sun's rays. Rahu, painting. So in the, we're getting a little involved here. You know who is Rahu? You know the ocean of milk, the churning of the ocean of milk? And there was a demon that wanted to get the nectar first. So the goddess of fortune chopped his head. But he had partially taken some milk, so his head survived, but the rest of his body didn't. That's Rahu. Interesting story, huh? So here, this is a painting depicting, there's Rahu up in the upper right, just the head, Rahu. Rahu is shown as a disembodied head, is pleading with Indra to stop Hanuman. Indra is following Hanuman, striking him with thunderbolt. Hanuman is shown falling off the mountain or falling onto the mountain. There he is on that little mountain ledge. And there's the battle and so forth and so on. So, Vayu saw this fall, and when Vayu saw the fall, he became very angry at Indra and the other demigods. So what did he do? Vayu stopped the flow of air through the universe. And that was a problem. No wind, no air. People, they were suffocating. So the demigods went to Lord Brahma. Hello, we can't breathe. And he said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So he, Brahma, descended exactly to where this painting on the right, you see that four-headed Lord Brahma, and then the sun god and this and that, and the other devas. They came to where Hanuman had fallen, and Brahma simply touched Hanuman and brought him back to a full, vigorous life. Vayu was pleased, restored breath to all living beings, and the gods granted Hanuman boons. So here's this little monkey Hanuman with all these very powerful boons given to him by various demigods. There's this depiction of Brahma giving his blessings, and then others also giving their blessings, and he became a very powerful little boy. But he was also still a mischievous little boy. Little boys are sometimes mischievous. And so in his mischievousness, he was doing all kinds of wild things with the Brahmanas in particular. That this painting is depicting some of his mischievous things. And particularly when they were performing yajna, he'd come past urine on their fire. He was naughty little Hanuman. So they uttered a curse. The curse says he's not going to remember all of his powers unless somebody reminds him. So that became an important event later on. He stopped being so mischievous because he thought he forgot about his powers. On the strength of the gods' blessings, Hanuman had become fearless even as a young child. He had played in the hermitages of the rishis, mischievously throwing about their paraphernalia and stopping their sacrifices to check if the rishis uttered a curse. You will forget your great power. Only when you hear your powers described by another will you again remember them. So that happened much later. So it became more calm again. We don't hear any of the details of how he got his education, because while on the one hand he's in the body of a monkey or a vanara, he's a celestial being, or the son of a celestial being with celestial capacities. So he later found out, not elaborately discussed in Ramayana, but he was trained as his teacher was the sun god. So he became the teacher of Hanuman. In all Vedic wisdom, Sanskrit is not described in Ramayana, but just before Hanuman's leap to Lanka, he offers prayers to the sun god, his guru, before beginning his activity, this very, very heroic activity. He remembers the sun god. Here's the reference from Uttarakhanda. Long ago, this foremost of monkeys, immeasurable and eager to learn grammar, faced the sun, and following it, walked from the eastern to the western mountain, and so mastered that great subject. This is a little bit of detail of the training, but it's not in detail. I'm going to end quickly, or shortly. There's a depiction here when Sita was kidnapped. On the right side, that's Lakshman. On the left side, that's Hanuman. Excuse me, that's Ramachandra. We had this discussion. Those of you that weren't, can you see from back there?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Congratulations. Were you with us for those earlier discussions? Morning and evening yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the question, Amritananda's question, what was the actual complexion of Ramachandra?
Yes.
Because you find different versions. Did you get that document? Did you get a copy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. In Valmiki Ramayana, as this painting depicts, his complexion is sham, which in Krishna Lila means blackish, but the more literal meaning is dark. And then in Bhagavatamrita, there's a statement by Rupa Goswami referring to him as having a complexion like newly grown dhruva grass, green. And Prabhupada would refer to him in that way, as greenish complexion. Golden complexion for Ramachandra, excuse me, for Mahaprabhu, etc. So there he is. And they were going in the forest looking for Sita because she had been kidnapped and they didn't know where she had gone. And all of a sudden they found themselves in the grip of this beast, Rakshasa beast. There's a story behind the Rakshasa beast, but he was cursed to have this very weird looking form with like a cyclops, like one eye in the center of his forehead, and long arms, and he would devour people. That was his Rakshasa program. He would grab people by their waist and draw them into his mouth and devour them. So there's Ram and Lakshman being drawn towards the mouth of Kabanda, excuse me. And they chopped off his arms, and by his being defeated this way, he was able to disclose something that he knew. So something that he knew was you will get the assistance to find Sita by going to the hermitage of, what's the Rishi's name?
Matanga Rishi.
Matanga Rishi. Yeah. You like Ramayana
I've heard it in my childhood many times.
many times. So, but at the base of Rishimukh Mountain, up on top of Rishimukh Mountain, there's there's another personality who you make some friendship with, and you'll be able to regain Sita. There was Kabanda. He had this like mystic power to know these things. So there they are. This is the meeting of Hanuman, the first meeting of Hanuman and Ramachandra. So the painting is meant to depict up on the upper portion, that's a mountain, Rishimukh Mountain, as directed by Kabanda. And there's Ramachandra, and there's Lakshman, and then there's the Vandras up on top of this mountain, looking down the mountainside. And who are those people? They're dressed like mendicants, but they're carrying weapons. On observing two human beings, Ram and Lakshman, with bow and arrow in the forest, Sugriva, who was living on top of this mountain, became suspicious and was afraid his brother Bali had sent them to kill him. Because Bali was told, he had a curse, Bali couldn't go on top of that mountain. Sage Matunga had cursed him. So maybe he's sending these two people to come and kill me. So he decided he would send his minister, namely Hanuman, who had shape-changing abilities, and he went down the side of the Rishimukh mountain, came before them appearing as if Ramana, and immediately just being in Ramachandra's presence, he could understand. Mission accomplished. You have the second best seat in the house. You got the best one. The lady that was there.
Hari.
Hare Krishna. So immediately Hanuman disclosed his identity. And when he disclosed his identity, he spoke in perfect Sanskrit. And immediately he spoke and revealed his identity. This is a B.G. Sharma painting. And he couldn't hold his real identity, and he told everything about who he was. And he's a minister of Sugriva, and I'm here on behalf of Sugriva, desiring your friendship. And he spoke in such elegant language that Ramachandra, not even looking at Hanuman, spoke directly to Lakshman. Did you hear that? This erudition and diction and eloquence and perfect Sanskrit. He's not an ordinary personality. Impeccable speech, exalted qualities. This is their first meeting. And with their first meeting, it seems now Sugriva has informed that Lakshman spoke to say, I'm the younger brother, this is Ramachandra, and he's seeking the friendship of Sugriva. And because Kabanda sent us, and so here we are, we're looking for him. Do you know how to find him? So these are comments that Ramachandra makes. He has the mastery of all the Vedas. He did not use even a single unchaste expression. He spoke in chaste Sanskrit, spoke in middle tone, Speech was rich in erudition, delivered without any haste. He could please the mind even of an enemy with weapons in his hand. This is what Ramachandra said to Lakshman without even looking at Hanuman. So then Lakshman says who they are. I'm the younger brother, this is my brother. We're searching for Sita, and Sugriva is said to be one who can help us. So then Hanuman narrates the story of Sugriva, how he lost his wife and kingdom and had taken residence on top of this mountain out of fear of Vali, his brother. So he then volunteers, if you like, I can take you there. So how's that possible? And Hanuman says, don't, no worries, I can make myself good. So that's what he does. Hanuman offered to take Ram and Lakshman to Sugriva so they can form a bond of friendship. He's the minister. That's a function. A representative of the personality of Godhead function. Making first he was as a servant of Sugriva, but now he's going to be transferred that service to Sugriva to service of Ramachandra. And there's all these nice paintings. We'll see many. He makes his body really big. On one shoulder is Lakshman, the other shoulder is Ramachandra, and he transports them up to Rishimukh mountain, and we're going to end. He gets to the top of Rishimukh mountain. He has a relationship of Dasya Rasa. Those of you that are a little familiar with the 5 primary and 7 secondary rasas, he's the one who's listed with the primary rasa of Dasya. That he just loves, his whole being is engaged in loving service to Ramachandra, as is Lakshman. Now they're brothers, but they have that very strong flavor of Dasya rasa. Nice depictions of Hanuman smiling, Ramachandra smiling. Off they go to Rishimukh mountain. And now he's making this introduction between Ram and Sugriva. Sugriva is the one with the crown. So I think we're done. The introduction. We'll continue part 2 sometime. I don't know exactly when. Part 2 continued. Look, it's almost 8 o'clock. Now, most of the devotees are quite familiar, probably more familiar than I am, with the identity of Hanuman. Probably some, profound feelings. I know some ISKCON devotees. They're Ram Bhaktas, and even more so, they're Hanuman Bhaktas. Mm-hmm. And it's perfectly compatible. Not only ISKCON devotees, but even associates of Ramachandra. Murari Gupta was a Ram Bhakta, more than a Ram Bhakta. He was Hanuman himself in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. So he certainly had that mood. But it has its place. Ram Bhakti has its place in Krishna Bhakti. And those that are Ram Bhaktas, they know Ramayana, they know the details, just like those of us who are more inclined in Krishna Bhakti, details. There's no end to the details. And there's a story behind those details, and the story behind that story, and the story behind that story. Foremost, from my less experienced position, the foremost lovers of Ramayana are the Sri Vaishnavas, as we have this great fascination for Srimad Bhagavatam. They have similar great fascination for Ramayana, and they find so many jewels in that jewel mine, and the explanations behind this happening and that happening, and why did it this way, and why was it that way, and their explanations are so filled with joy and filled with their realizations of things. And volumes and volumes and volumes have been written. So we had some discussion like that earlier, Govinda Raj in particular. You've heard that name, Govinda Raj? No, you haven't. He is amongst the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas. This is my understanding. He's the king. Like Rupa Goswami is for us, Rupanugas, Govinda Raj. And details and details and details, very expansive writings. Lessons from Ramayana, etc., etc., etc. Let's see if there's some topics any of you who've been here very patiently would like to discuss. Some comments or questions. Some topics you'd like to bring up. You have one? Yeah, sure. Just turn the whole thing. Turn the speaker this way. Turn the speaker this way. Thank you. Thank you. Now try again.
Yeah, it's better. Maharaj, sorry. So I learned something new today, specifically in terms of when it was discussed about mother of Anjali, where it was mentioned that she was a maid servant of Brihaspati. So, and I was trying to correlate it with, I think the second canto of Bhagavatam, it's mentioned where you have the lineage of Devhuti, where you have Rishi Angira, and I think Krishna, that descendant comes to Brihaspati. So that's something new actually. I didn't know. Can you shoot the slides? That was very good. Thank you.
It's a detail. But it's, details are nice. She had a prior position, elevated position. Go ahead.
No, that's so. Thank you. That's something I learned new. That was very beautiful. So I had no question as such.
Okay, I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered, and did you get an answer to that wonder? Where's that picture of Hanuman opening his chest and showing Sita and Ram inside? Is there a scriptural reference for that, other than the one I narrated? Because the answer that I narrated was because I kept asking the question. Like, what's this? Is there a scriptural reference for it? Because it's well known. Do you know a different one, an additional one?
No, Maharaj. I have also learned from Valmiki, Ramayana, there are references which is mentioning exactly in the same way you just described. So I'm also not aware of anything coming.
Ramayana. That's different Ramayana. Okay. Anybody else would like? Let's go over here. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, I heard about Vali and Sugriva. They are anshas of sun god and Indra.
Mm.
So is it there mentioned that, or because?
You want to know, is it mentioned?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not with great prominence like it is with Hanuman, the son of the wind god. But
I heard that it's Vali is from Indra and sun. Sugriva is from sun, and the same thing happened in Mahabharata. as Arjuna
You're
and
confirming?
So no. Alternate happened because Karna
Arjuna
came in
and Karna.
as sun god's descent and Indra came as. Sorry, Arjuna came as Indra.
So Ram helped to Sugriva to kill Vali, and in next incarnation, Krishna helped to protect Arjuna and kill the Karna. So because
But the behaviors were very different. The reason for killing was very different. Very different. You know, again, I wrote this. Upholding Dharma samsthapanartaya. So certainly Ramayana has, and also in Krishna's pastimes, there were rules of Dharma applying. That's exactly what Krishna said when Karna was objecting. What you're violating Dharma. I'm unarmed. My chariot wheel is stuck, and then you kill me. But where's your Dharma? Krishna replied, where's your Dharma? You did this and that.
So the question is now, Maharaj, that even though they are anshas from the great demigods and the devotee of Lord, are they playing a role or they did mistakes? They are in there.
What do you think?
I'm ignorant, Maharaj. I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
But does it have to be in either or? In other words, an actor on the stage knows their identity, and they're just an actor on a stage. And then when the drama is over, they go back to who they are, because that's who they are. So it's not like a drama where they're just enacting a role to teach a lesson. You know, the spiritual potency works differently than the external potency. So they are not so much aware of, you know, the drama, the director of the drama, the role that they're playing in the drama. They're enacting something because they're inspired by the internal potency to do something and behave in a certain manner and so forth and so on. So it's a delicate topic, you know, how the personality of Godhead can and does transform its internal potency to external potency at will, sometimes and sometimes. So they're in this unique position, let's say Karna or Arjuna, you know, the good guy and the bad guy, the bad guy and the good guy. So standing by the personality of Godhead, there's a protection. And those that don't stand by the personality of Godhead, they're not protected. And so, back to your question, do they really understand? They're just role acting and teaching lessons through, you know, the bigger script that the personality of Godhead has, and they go back to being what they are? Or no, it's not like that. They identify with that role. You know, they get back at his mother and get back at the Pandavas. And, you know, the Karna's get back mentality is it's a material force that he's covered by. So living entities can be covered by that. Maya Shakti. You get that mentality being one of them. It can be very strong.
Thank you.
This example is
You get him the microphone?
just adding to that. Example is Balaram killing the Tibuda. The Tibuda and Manta was the Ansha of Ashwini Kumara. Tibuda was lived long, the Krishna pastime, and then Balaram had to kill Tibuda. And he was making all the funny noises and funny
most with Balaram. Balaram to kill Garuda.
There's more. Here's some more. In addition to what you said, keep the microphone because you want to. No, you can keep the microphone. You'll have like you have something to say after you hear what I say. When this introduction was made, this is from the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas. When this introduction was made between Sugriva and Ram, Vidvida and Minda were advisors to the king. Sugriva, they were his advisors. And they both advised, respect this one, don't worry about that one. It was an offense. Minimizing the role of the representative of, or the Guru Tattva principle on behalf of Lord Ramachandra. It was an offense. And Minda received his penalty, but it happened again with Vidvida. So he lived a very long time, and he had this animosity towards the personality of Godhead. It lingered because of the offense. Animosity because of the offense. It's one of the consequences of offense. There's an aversion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the rest of the Leela. And so then it was Balaram who let him have it. Because he was doing what he was doing. Making mess, and making havoc, and disturbing Krishna.
I didn't understand your point about him. I didn't understand the point you made about the Guru Tattva here. I mean,
The understanding is Vidvida made an offense. Vidvida and Minda, particularly is Vidvida, advising Sugriva, pay attention to Ramachandra, don't pay attention to that other one. Lakshman. Yeah, Lakshman. That's the offense. So it was an offense. The consequence of offense. That was the connection.
yeah.
And then that carried over because he was a living entity that had a long life, a Chiranjiva category. So that's a long time from Ramachandra's pastimes to Krishna's pastimes. A long time. Okay.
Wonderful. Yes, we also know that there is Jambavan. Jambavan was the Amsha of or potency of Brahmadev.
Yeah.
And lived long, and then also had to fought with Krishna.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
like long. And why that was happened?
Well, Krishna has his ways of doing things. To relieve him of that mistake and then bring him around to the right position. And that's what happened. Krishna's arrangement to relieve his devotee from that mistake. So it happened the way that it happened because Krishna orchestrated it that way.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So one question after seeing this PPT. Hanumanji is more interested in Ram Tattva compared to Krishna Tattva because when Krishna said he is calling him, he didn't come the
Yes.
first time. Second time when Sri Ram is
Yes.
calling him, he came.
Yes.
So my question is that
Remember, this is a commentary. It's not necessarily an event that actually transpired. It's Sanatana Goswami's commentary to help us understand the heart of Hanuman.
Okay. Well-
Which is different than what we find in Ramayana because that's after pastime.
Okay, so I think that my question might not be relevant because I was thinking that it is said that wherever Bhagavatam is happening, Hanumanji comes and sits there.
Yeah. Whenever Ram Katha is there, he comes.
Yeah, but Bhagavatam is more towards Krishna.
That's okay. But when you have a Ram Bhakti, you got to respect other worshippers of other forms of the Lord besides Krishna. because that's the Bhagavatam. It's Bhagavan and all of the different features. Yes? Okay, you're sitting right next to you. She's always got something that she wants to say.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. I think this you bring today many different perspectives from different literature as well as the living tradition as of today to give a picture of Hanuman. And I think that's a very nice way to give us a broader context here. And I remember when I first read Ramayana is a Krishna Dharma Prabhu's retold version. And one of the things that impressed me a lot is when Hanuman first met Rama and Lakshmana in the mountain. He immediately recognized that Lord Rama is his eternal Lord.
Yes,
And,
immediately.
Immediately, and his devotion is awakened without any. It's like eruption. It's just that
Yes,
immediately.
yeah.
I think that's quite
Very beautiful description.
very beautiful and impressive. And my personal feeling is Hanuman played a very important and special role in the whole of Ramayana, in the sense that I feel like his presence just kind of add a different color to the setting of Ramayana, which is filled with sorrow and karuna rasa. Hanuman, for example, he has an interplay of two identities. One is an educated human,
Yeah.
and then he is also a wildlife, a monkey, and it's like it's just like something like may not be that appropriate, but something like a playful child entered into assembly of very serious adults, and so his presence, I feel like, gave a very brightened color to Ramayana and balanced that sorrow feeling a lot. And just one example, when he in the palace of Ravana, when his tail was set on fire, he jumped over to the roof and set the whole Lanka city on fire. We wouldn't imagine, say, Lakshmana could jump on top of the roof to set the whole Lanka on fire. And he's a monkey, so he had that playfulness and the bright mood there. And also how he elevated the sorrowful feeling is he connected Rama and Sita when they are separated. And so in that sense, he elevated the whole sorrowful feeling and brings light and hope and joy. And it's kind of a quite balanced picture from that point of view. And I have a question, not really a question, but just when you show the Mula Ramayana deity, I was thinking it's kind of a mystery to me, because you told the history is traced to not only to Ikshvaku, the beginning of this Yuga cycle, but even to Lord Brahma, which is the beginning of the creation. And that is, I don't know, from the Vedic point of view, it is just say, for example, the beginning of this Yuga, the beginning of this Manvantara, it would be, say, more than 100 million years.
That's all.
It's hard to imagine how that work. You have a seven deity that really that old, and even today we could see it.
Yeah. Go to the beach. There he is. We went. We can see. We saw. I didn't know that history when we went, but we saw. I heard Mola Ramaya, Mola Sitaram. Okay. And then some people live in Udupi. They go see the deity regularly.
And because usually you say from the modern science point of view, it's like there's not even an animal at that time. It's like a very different,
Yes, a different picture.
different background picture.
Have you read Ramayana? Yes? Have you read it? As she first read, I recommend Krishna Dharma, the ISKCON devotee in England. And he has a book which he calls Ramayana Retold. And the language is really good. With good mastery of the English language. Very different than Old English language. It's not a literal verse by verse by verse by verse translation from Sanskrit to English, but it's just a retelling. And it's a really nice, it's a careful, my appreciation, besides the language, is very readable. He's very particular about staying in fidelity with the actual text of Ramayana, leaving out some things, and adding some, embellishing a little bit by other standard teachings, etc. We ran across one of those. That's weekend. Krishna Dharma, Ramayana retold.
In the Veda base.
Yeah.
In the Veda.
You can read it on your phone. Baby.
There is also, since we're discussing the Madhavacharya,
Okay, well, you give the microphone back.
Madhavacharya is also partial potency of Hanuman.
Yes. Yes. He's partial to Hanuman. He's partial to be able to perceive, you see. Yes, way back in the corner. You gotta come forward because the microphone cord isn't gonna reach you. You gotta There we go. Look at that.
Oh, you need to come closer.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay. Hear you loud and clear. Too loud. A little further from your mouth, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam. It's a beautiful class. And I have a question like Hanuman teared his chest and opened to reveal that Lord Ram and Mother Sita was sitting inside his heart.
Yeah.
So I have two questions. The question one is that was after coming from the Lanka, and is it happened before coronation of the Ram or after the coronation of Ram?
I don't know the answer to that. My understanding is limited. My understanding that I gave you was the result of asking the question, not when, but what. What's the scriptural reference for that? And then that was the answer. With research, that was the answer that was provided by somebody that knows Pritibhasa Ramayana. But you're asking a question I don't have the answer to. Did that event of showing his chest happened, according to Pritibhas Ramayana, it happened after returning to Ayodhya. But that deity or that form or painting, etc., of Hanuman showing revealing his chest, who knows when that came? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows?
Yes.
Who knows? And is there any basis for that? Who knows? Not likely they know what's in Pritibhas Ramayana. They just like that, you know. In the very heart of Hanuman's heart is Sitaram. That's my understanding of where that depiction comes from. Not so much a scriptural reference.
I heard the another story of it.
Huh?
I heard the another one of it.
You'll get the microphone next, because I'm very interested in some other scriptural reference. Okay, you have a second question.
So, my second question is, since it happened in some court proceedings or some sabha, so I would like to learn if there was any specific sabha, because
Is that anyone?
court proceedings where Hanuman shows his chest.
Court proceeding? In front of Ravana?
Assembly.
In Ravana's assembly. That's what you're asking about? No, what you're asking about.
Once the Lord Rama came back from Lanka,
Okay.
and there was some sabha happening,
Okay.
assembly,
Assembly. Not I know what something is.
So in that assembly, Hanuman shows that. So I was
Hanuman shows that?
yes.
I don't know about that. Is that the answer? Is that your reference?
Somewhat.
Okay. He's going to give an answer to your question. Ask the microphone back.
But then what I heard,
What I heard.
this was when Hanumanji went to Lanka and found Mother Sita. And then Mother Sita was very happy, and that time Mother Sita didn't have anything to give back to Hanumanji. So then after coronation, came back from Lanka, after coronation, and everybody was coming to Lord Ram and Mother Sita. Mother Sita immediately took a necklace,
Yeah.
then gave it to Hanumanji. Hanumanji, took out each bead from the necklace and said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you giving this?"
You're telling the same story.
Then Hanumanji said, "My Lord Ram is not here. My Lord Ram is." Then where is your Lord Ram? Then ask this question, where is your Lord Ram? Then that's the time Hanumanji just opened the chest and showed, "My Lord Ram is here in my."
Yeah, it's the same story with Pritibhas Ramayana. But in Pritibhas Ramayana, it says in every bone in his body, Ram's name was inscribed. Not Sitaram. Okay?
Yeah.
We didn't get the answer to your question.
So Maharaj,
Wait a minute, you gotta wait. Yeah, wait. Go ahead.
I'm very fortunate to in your katha whenever I get chance. Very interesting, like the new information I got from you today. The current location of Lord Hanuman, and you described the very. And can we have little bit more idea what is happening there right now? Is Lord Hanuman still serving Lord Rama there, or that he is over?
What do you think he's doing? Wherever he is, that's what he's doing. And that's where he is. So that's what he's doing. Now, if you want to read more, I invite you, look it up in Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's some detail, not super detail, but who he's with, their chief persons, plural, that are with him always, and they enjoy chanting Ram's name and seeing the glories of Ram like him, and that's where they are. So you want to know what's going on there. That's what's going on there. He and others. Now, it's not that Hanuman is confined, because he can and is in many, many other places as well. Sometimes and sometimes and sometimes. So, a very nice place. If you like, do you like to read?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. You'll find some references in Brihat Bhagavatamrita and Madhu Bhagavatamrita. Those two books. They're also in database, but they're also printed volumes. And you can find in those two reference places something more about who is with them, what do they do there. In Purusha Varsha. Do you have database? Do you have a phone?
Yes.
Everybody has a phone. Read. So go to database.com and you can do some research on just Kim Purusha Varsha. Just do a word search. Kim Purusha Varsha. You get lots of, where is that spoken about? And then there you'll find some references as to who's with Hanuman doing what. But the short of it is, they're names of persons and they're with him and they're singing the glories of Ramachandra.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Personally like Ramayana, because there are a lot of things to learn from these great personalities.
Yes.
Coming back to the discussion where we mentioned that Lord Ramachandra has to excite 9 plus 5. And then, as per my understanding, going back, when I was reading the Mahabharata for the kids for Sunday school, they have a lot of questions raised. So I was researching about Pandavas. So they also got exiled. They also has to go for the Vanavas for certain years.
Yeah, but not 14.
That's not 14 number. That it mentioned about 12 plus 1. So 12 is Vanavas and plus 1 is Agnatavas.
Do you want to know what's the magic between the two different numbers? That's what the kids are asking you?
So
I don't
it was
have the answer for
long
that.
time ago.
Okay.
But my question is that the same reason what you mentioned to the morning class? That for the title. So is that the same reasons for the Pandavas and the Lord?
No. It's a quick no. As far as I understand, no, that's not the reason why they were sent to the forest for a certain number of years. Because of Vedic law, if you're the king, that's the reason the number of years was selected. Now, what's the reason for that number of years? I don't know, but it's not that reason. Because the magic number is 14. That's the law, Vedic law or tradition. Law, the law of mankind, the law of governance. Okay?
So I didn't get much of information from the Pandavas side. They lost the game, dice game,
Yes.
and then somebody has to choose. Maybe Kauravas has to choose the number.
Yeah.
Is that related to something?
You're asking the same question from the back door instead of the front door. Same question. The answer is I don't know. Over here.
Whereas, class, whereas I heard, and it's not authentic or citation.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
But if someone is deep thrown and if they forget, the community or the people will forget after a certain number of years.
That's convention, yes.
Yeah, that is probably what I heard.
Okay, but in addition, there's a law. This is what I came to know recently, like Yeah, within the past 24 hours. There's a law, Vedic law. Someone has entitled for the throne, the king, and for that number of years lapses, and they're not on the throne, they're not ruling as the king, they lose their title. That's a law. Besides convention. And people will forget it. That what you said is what I heard in the past. In 14 years, people get used to there's somebody else is in charge, and that guy comes back, that's okay. There's a new guy, he's in charge.
I have a question. Maharaj, again, I don't know how to put it right way. Yada 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 must related verse.
Yes,
question.
yeah.
If God has a Supreme Personality of God came so many times, and when he basically takes different avatars and comes and shows the pathway, like Ramachandra showed.
Yeah, I sure did.
Why does the soul so attached that it keeps doing the same mistake over and over and again?
It's called ignorance. Ignorance covers knowledge. So the antidote is knowledge. Because that's the antidote for ignorance. But the reason is ignorance. How strong is ignorance? Very strong. That strong? More strong than that. Now, some living entities become filled with knowledge, and they leave that ignorance behind, and they leave the material world behind. The purpose of liberation is achieved for some. But, there's another nice verse beside the one you refer to. Manushanam sahasreshu kasidhyatati siddhaye. It's very rare to find someone that light goes on, and they're free from the ignorance and illusion. It's rare, percentage-wise. Okay. You have something? Yes, I have something. And our host.
Maharaj, you mentioned about King Purusha Varsha.
Yeah.
We know that when Sri Ramachandra Bhagavan was leaving this world and asked Hanumanji, that would you come with me? And Hanumanji said, no. I would like to be here to hear whoever is chanting the holy name, as long as whoever is chanting the holy name will be here in this world. And they also mentioned that whoever chants name of Krishna, name of Ram, Hanumanji is always there.
Sita said, yeah.
Always there. So when you look at Hanumanji, it's also Chiranjeevi.
Yeah.
Hanumanji is Chiranjeevi, that means
Yeah, I know what it means.
he lives forever. There is no point. So
To the end of the universe.
end of the universe. So this Chiranjeevi, the aspect is that, so that means Hanumanji is not going to go back to Ram, or that
He's his eternal associate. Come
Yes.
on.
Yeah, not, I mean, in the sense of from here to, okay.
Microphone to our host. And then you get the last word.
No, I just wanted to check one thing, Maharaj. You were trying to check whether there is any other scripture that has a mention of the opening of the
Yes.
church. I don't know whether to call this as a scripture, under the scripture category, like as you mentioned, Krittivas, Ramayana, or Valmiki. So we have Ramcharitmanas by Tulsidas.
Yeah.
That also has a mention of.
What is it like? Please tell me.
I don't know the exact. I used
But
to.
I need to know the exact.
So in the sense, means I read it very long time back.
Okay, but you have a homework assignment.
Yeah, I can pass it on if I.
Okay, that's okay. But come back to me with the answer.
Sure.
What's the passage? I'm doing like this with you because when I was in Hartford, somebody said in Ramcharitmanas, Sita said, I don't want Ramachandra to have to undergo tribulation, so I want to go to the forest so he doesn't have tribulation. in Ramachandra. It was in a movie. But he was saying, I've read since I was a child, and there was somebody else in the room going, no. So, there's reason for asking. I'd like the specific reference, please. And if it's there, great. If it's not there, great. Then the air is cleared. Yes or no? Not maybe. I read somewhere, I heard somewhere. Who knows? You follow? Clear? You have a homework assignment. If you can't find it, it's okay. We just won't mention it. See the problem?
I have one small, small question.
Small question.
So, Maharaj, like we saw on the slides, the Dasaras, Hanumanji. So, we offer bhoga to the vigraha in our home.
Yes, yes.
So, over the years, so if we want to increase the attachment, so recently, I used to offer and normally in Islam we say mantras after offering.
Yeah.
So recently, I actually someone on the social media platform, I came across someone and he was saying now this is all about increasing the attachment toward the Lord, right? Because we have to, in the end, the bhav is the matter, and we are trying to increase the bhav. So if bhav will increase, then we will have to serve better. So he is saying when we offer sometimes suppose if you offer juice or something so when you are taking out the offer, then you can think of you are wiping out the lips of the Lord. Mental speculation. So in order to increase the attachment, when you are in the night when you are making the Lord sleep, then you can think of you are taking out the crown, then you can think of massaging the head and massaging the leg, to increase the attachment. So that, is there anything else we can do to increase the attachment?
I would write two things. Give him the microphone. Number one, you take the microphone. Be careful about this and that and the other and the other and the other, because to increase attachment, in principle, it's fine. And following the line of our predecessor acharyas, particularly the deity worship itself, deity worship is found in the Pancharatras, Narada Pancharatra, etc. It's in the Agama section of the Vedas, and it should be written in Scripture, not just to increase attachment. Do this and do that and the other. To do this and do that and the other may be not to be done. I'll give a little example. Sanatana Goswami wrote, or was interested was responsible for compiling Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is taken largely from the Pancharatras, or the Agama section of the Vedas, and how to do things, including deity worship. And there's details more than in Hari Bhakti Vilas. So, but my point is this: there should be scriptural reference. So there's something written by Jiva Goswami about deity worship, Jiva Goswami, and he writes in Bhakti Sandarbha, one of the things that you don't do, for example, is kiss the deity. Now, who thinks of kissing the deity? But somebody like this individual saying, Baba is the thing, so I'm going to go kiss my deity. I'm sorry, you don't kiss your deity.
Yeah, that will be too much.
Okay. You understand my point is, you want to increase, make sure increases are in alignment with Scripture and not otherwise. And then you do that which is in alignment with Scripture. And you're doing the right thing. You're in the safety zone. That's my recommendation in response to your question. Find what's in the scripture. So there are devotees that are very knowledgeable in deity worship and the details of how to, and even the specifics of how this may increase, or if there's a potency to increase bhava, the ecstasy of attachment to the deity. But then there's some do's and there's do nots with everything. Including, how to increase bhava. There's some do's and there's some do nots. You want to say something more?
Yeah, so like we understand, like if we think about something most of the time, then that thought remains in our mind.
Yes.
So like if we read more and more kathas and pastimes, so
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So now, in order to go beyond this, like so, because we are very what we say, we are like in case of like those who are do the bhakti of Nirankar, and they we don't have vigrahas, right? It becomes very difficult. We are very merciful and we are very lucky. I mean, we worship vigrahas, so it becomes easy to like have attachment, right? As compared to the those who worship Nirankar.
It's just long. Make it short. What's the main point?
Yeah, so main point is so we have to somehow do, just like I said, like we have to mentally we have to speculate, like just like in we hear that in like even if you don't have many things, like mentally you can offer, like suppose if you don't have.
Okay, but if you I'm going to take the microphone away. If you don't have a deity, you can worship the deity in your mind. If you do have a deity, you don't worship the deity in your mind. Supposing someone is, whatever the situation is, there's a nice story of one who learned he could worship his deity. He was very poor and very old and da. So he did his deity worship in his mind because he couldn't. But if you can, you do. So don't just do it in your mind because it says that's a way that can be done. It's a way that can be done for very elevated persons. And supposing I'm not a very elevated person, right? I have a deity.
No,
And follow the vidis. I don't want to go it again. I don't want to do it again. We follow the vidis, that things to be done and not to be done. And including, the meditation on when you're lying in your bed at night and you're thinking of the deity that you've become attached to, and you don't worship the deity and you're lying down in your bed in your mind. Even meditation is done in a proper, should be done in a proper way. There's vidhis that enhance bhakti and rasa, bhakti rasa. And bhakti bhava. So just don't bypass or shortcut. I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.